have a question for you because what mutual funds have done during last 2 decades is creating a totally different alternative for retail investors to come in, and the number of retail investors who are investing in equity markets and debt markets or capital markets through mutual funds is probably double than the number of investors who are investing directly. So you definitely, the AMCs have played a major role in growth and expansion of our capital markets in Pakistan. But very recently, and I think it would be fair to say that due incentives are also provided by the government in form of tax rebates and stuff like that. But recently, these rebates have been taken away with. How do you see the impact of this change in revenue policy on the growth of this industry going forward? Will it sustain without any such exemption, or do you think there is still a need for similar exemptions going forward?
Thank you, Amir. So basically, yes, it was a bit of a shock for us also to have these tax credits withdrawn, especially in an environment where your total savings ratio is 13% of GDP, which is almost non-existent. Your mutual fund industry is just 5% of your total banking sector. In the US, it's like over 100%. So mutual funds, so I mean, it's not just that it's been withdrawn. There was also some move to change that for the VPS side. Also, it's giving a very wrong signal to the investors that there's no consistency in the model, in the system. You're investing in something, and then the next year something's going to change. And that, unfortunately, for the past 2 decades, like the private sector mutual funds also have sort of taken off since 2002. Before that, there was just 2 companies which were in place. So we've really grown with this past 2 decades also. So, and every year we've basically spent more majority of our time fighting taxation issues. So instead of actually focusing more on awareness and creating market, expanding the market, so our focus has been fighting with taxation issues. So there needs to be some sort of consistency and stability in the taxation structure for the capital markets. So you cannot just have, you think they're making money, let's tax them. And that's what's happening. And so that concept needs to change, because mutual funds are long-term investments. And they bring stability to the capital markets also. In the US or in any international market, the institutional investors basically provide depth and liquidity to the market. In Pakistan, I mean, we're the only institutional investors actually there in the big forum, and we're holding 10% of the free float, which actually is not very good for the market too, because the free float itself is very low. And then amongst that, so right now, I mean, like Arif mentioned, I mean, we went up to 45% of our equity fund percentage. Right now, it's 1/3 of our total assets, which is roughly 300 to 400 billion. So we've actually shrunk because of all these issues. Our equity segment is not growing. Our investor base is growing, but they're mostly coming towards the risk-averse funds that we have. Our money market segment is growing. In money market, again, we're primarily investing in the government securities. So we don't have corporate securities available in the money market segment at all. In the fixed income side, again, we've had a lot of issues in the 2008 crisis where there were a lot of defaults. And unfortunately, in our country, there's not much of a legal recourse available. So we've also started, not investing in majority of the instruments, that even if they come up. And they generally don't come to the capital markets, they go to the banking side to begin with. So whoever actually comes to the capital market is someone who's actually aware their banking lines, or the banks are not willing to lend them credit. They're the ones bringing in corporate debts, or the banks themselves for their capital requirements. So primarily, whatever corporate debt that we have mostly is again banking sector or some of the better growth instruments that we have. So that segment is also not growing. So while the mutual funds are trying to sort of, develop the market, expand the market, we really have not much of investment avenues available where we can actually expand and invest. Like our Sharia compliant category is probably the fastest growing category for the past few years now. We don't have instruments in the fixed income side. And equity really hasn't been performing for the past 4 years now. So we're actually really struggling to actually expand that base.
Okay, I think you made your point with reference to the continuity of policies as well, and the issuance of or the supply of new instruments into the market.